Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Once again, my name is Mica Pointer, and today we are going to be working on the chain stitch. Now, the chain stitch is fortunately one of the easier of the fancy embroidery stitches. And just a reminder, once again, before we get started, I am left-handed when it comes to sewing. Fortunately, the technique is the same, whether you're doing it left or right-handed. And the technique, if I can grab my handy piece of chalk right over here, imagine if you're looking down onto your project that this is the stitch line right here. Once it shows up, maybe we can see it here soon. This is the stitch line that you're going to be following, and you're going to start coming up from the bottom, so you're not going to be on the bottom of the fabric as you're looking at it. You're going to come out, make a little loop, and then go right back in, basically where you started on the stitch line. Wow, that is a wonky loop, Mica. Nice going. Coming out, making a loop, going back in, and before you pull that loop all the way taut, you're going to leave a lot of slack right there, and you're going to come out a little bit further down your stitch line, right in the middle of the loop. At that point, because you have the thread that you just pulled out to hold that loop in place, you can pull that snugly taut against that. And once again, you're going to make another loop, go back in, again, at the same place inside of that loop as where you would come out. Underneath the fabric, you're going to go down the stitch line, come back up in the middle of the loop, make another loop, go back in, go down the stitch line, come out in the loop, make a loop, go back in, come out. So that way, just like the links in a chain, all of your stitches, all of your loops are all linked together. So this is really great because it's a really simple, easy, effective stitch for doing some tracing just around a shape. If you get these going right next to each other, it makes a really cool filled stitch. And if your threads are thick enough and they're at just the right width and length and everything like that, it gives almost a braided or plaited look when you're looking at it. And this has lent itself to really some extraordinary things, because I have stashed here, let me see if I can get it on camera, a vest that was embroidered completely using a chain stitch, and it can leave for some really, really cool, intricate stuff. I mean, maybe if we can zoom up a little bit on there, you see how in some places it almost looks like little braids, and it's just really some impressive stuff. So yet you can do some filled segments, you can do just some straight work with it. So there's a lot of variety that can come from just this one stitch. However, you also want to be kind of careful with it, because if you snag it just the right way, then just like how a knitted sweater will just completely unravel all in one go, because it's only the next link down the line holding all these links in place, if one of the links starts to pull out, then it'll just keep going and pull the entire thing out. So you got to be kind of careful when working with this. But if we'll just go right on in and demonstrate, I have a piece of muslin here that I've already marked with our stitch line right here. So we're just gonna start with this bit of green 3-strand embroidery floss that I've already separated out, put a knot in it, and threaded it into my needle. So I'm going to be starting from underneath my project. And in an ideal world, I would have like an embroidery frame or hoop or something just to hold the piece taut while I'm working on it. But unfortunately, I do not have one available. Oh goodness, God heavens, why? And I'm assuming that you probably don't have one available. So I'm just gonna work with you guys, holding it stable in my own two little hands. So we came up, came down in the same place. See, we've made that loop. Now before we pull that taut, oh, my moving around is probably devastating the focus of this video. I apologize ahead of time. We're gonna come up a little bit further down the project. The point of our needle is gonna go through that loop, you can see. And we're just gonna gently pull it taut. See? And then once again, we're gonna come down right where we came out in the middle of that loop. So we're going to go in, pull it gently so that we still have that loop. And part of the challenge is keeping it even how far down the stitch line you go for each stitch. Yeah, that's probably too short, but I can cope. And you're gonna go through the loop, pulling taut. Yeah, I can cope with that. Okay, and going back down again. So yes, always want to be mindful that you're not just pulling the loop taut right straight away, because then either you have to start again because it's pulled through back to the bottom of the fabric, or you have to unpick it, which is just tedious and annoying and whatnot. And I think one more link in the chain, and then we'll call that good for this length, and I'll show you how to tie off. So I'm just going to bring that up, stick it through, excuse me, organize yourself. Okay, through the loop, pulling it out. So see, just a nice, gentle little chain stitch right there. And for finishing this off, we're going to go back down right next to where we came out, but this time to hold that loop down, we're going to be going in just outside of, I don't know, what would you call that? The apex of the curve, the top of the curve. So that way, that little nibble that we make right there just holds that link in place. Okay, so oh gosh, obviously somebody did not pull tight enough right there. Oh, shame on you, Mica. Gonna be tying it off down here. Again, just like we do with any regular sewing, just gonna you can take a bite of cloth right there, or if you're feeling up to it, you can just make a little loop. Put your needle through the loop once, put your needle through the loop twice. A trick, if you notice it's kind of wanting to pull away from the ground of the fabric, if you take one of your handy pins right here and just stick it through that loop of the knot that you made and put it down right where you want it to settle. That way it'll pull itself down towards the fabric optimally. Please, please, come on, I want to go down. And yeah, I can cope with that. Okay, down there, we'll snip it off. And ignoring that ghastly loop right there that we did not intend, that is your chain stitch. Just a few links right there. Something else that's fun and easy is a detached chain stitch, which I'll show you using this lovely pink thread. This is 3-strand, again, that I'm using right here. And we're going to center a couple different chain stitches around this point at the top of the chain that we had just made. So once again, we're going to start from the back, come up right in the center there, and we're going to make a loop, go back down in the center, except here, because there's not a continual chain of these loops that we're going to be linking one to the other, it's just individual loops. You're going to be thinking, okay, which direction do I want that loop to sit? if you can see, I've made a couple of dots sort of indicating where I want some of my loops to go. So I'm just gonna come up where one of those dots are. I'm gonna go through my loop, and just like how we finished off this line of chain stitches, I might leave this one with a little more slack just to give it a little bit more of a rounded shape to it. We're just gonna come back in on the outside of the loop, pull taut, nice and gently. How did that turn out? Okay. Cool, cool, cool. And we can just tie this off nice and easy. Where's my pin? Where's my pin? Where did my pin go? Come back. Here we are. Okay, laying it down. Gently, 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 gently. And making second pass just cause. Gently, gently. Yep, see, that's what it's supposed to look like. And just kind of coax it into place. Just like that. Grab your snips. Chop it off. And that is the detached chain stitch. And if you notice, if you keep doing those all the way around, that's a lazy daisy stitch, and it makes a simple little flower because each of those loops become the petals of the flower. So if you're feeling like decorating something for springtime, once we're able to get back outdoors, that's a really cool, simple, easy way to decorate it. If you draw a few of your initials, you can just follow that with the chain stitch. If you want to monogram something, I don't know, maybe if you're looking to save on Kleenexes and you have a handkerchief handy, maybe you can do your initials in there. Either way, I hope that this made sense to you. I hope that your projects turn out well. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to send them my way, and I wish you good sewing.